Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup. This is the show where we talk about all of the things in the world of nerdy movies that happened in the past week or whatever. There really aren't that much to talk about this week. I would be honest. I was kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel for like actual news stories to talk about. I tend not to talk about stories that are like some guy on Twitter who is a scooper who has inside sources, but they're an anonymous person on Twitter. He says that Keke Palmer is in talks to play Rogue in the MCU. I tend not to talk about those stories. So this week, I really just don't have much to talk about. But we still have some pretty big things to talk about. So, yeah, let's get into them. First up, we got an official trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine. So, I'll be honest, the Fox X-Men movies didn't really connect with me all that much as a kid. So, I don't have a ton of like inherent nostalgia and excitement in seeing those characters return. So, I'm not like initially just like super hyped for like seeing Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool in a movie together. So I think that's really like the main reason why I haven't been as hyped for this movie as most people. And this trailer was good. I liked it. I thought it was cute. I think that they're going to have a good dynamic with one another. But I'm just not the guy that's going to go, oh my god, it's Hugh Jackman as Wolverine together with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Oh! Like, that's just not me. You know, when I'm watching the movie, apparently, like, Elektra as, or Jennifer Garner as Elektra, and, like, Ben Affleck as Daredevil, apparently they might show up. Whenever they pop through a portal, I'm not going to go like, oh my god, it's Jennifer Garner as Elektra. Like, that's not me. But I think that the movie looks cute. I think that the humor is okay. You know, I will say this as well. I am getting at the point where I'm getting a little annoyed at Ryan Reynolds' brand of humor. And I get it. It is specifically perfect for Deadpool. Like, Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool in a lot of ways. But I'm not going to lie, after seeing him pop up in shit like Red Notice and like Hobbs and Shaw, and he's just doing his shtick, it's a little grating. I'm just going to be completely honest. But it is a sorry, what am I saying? It is appropriate for Deadpool specifically, so I'm not too mad at it. I'm pretty sure I'll still find some humor in it. You know, Hugh Jackman is good as Wolverine, so I'm like, I'm not saying I dislike Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I just don't have the same like nostalgic excitement that people have for him. And also, it's not like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, where I feel like it's been ages since we've seen them in the roles. It's like we've seen Hugh Jackman like relatively recently in like 2017. You know, it's just not Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. It's not that level of like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this. But you know, there are definitely some cute little references. Like there's a shot in the trailer where Ant-Man, or where there's like a dead giant man body, and like there's, I guess the villains are like using like a giant, like an Ant-Man that turned giant and died, and they're like using his head as like a home base or something. That's pretty interesting. There's a point at the end of the trailer where Wolverine and Deadpool are like jumping through a Doctor Strange portal, so who's opening that portal? Is it going to be, are we going to see Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange in this movie? I'd personally like to see Wong. I think Wong would have a really good dynamic with the boys, with the lads. And you know, there are also some decent like hints at maybe more dramatic moments, cuz it seems like, and I could be wrong about this, but it seems like this is going to be following the Wolverine from Logan, but before Logan, because we sort of see Hugh Jackman not looking too great at the beginning of the trailer, and he's having issues with his claws coming out, kind of like we saw in Logan. So I'm thinking that this is that Logan, which in some ways is kind of annoying because it's like, well, we last saw him in Logan, but if this is a prequel canonically, then and it's not going to interfere with Logan, and that will still be technically the send off to the character. I might be okay with it. We'll see. Hopefully they don't like ruin Logan in any way. But yeah, it looks cute. And the other big thing that and listen again, this isn't fair to this movie, admittedly, but I am just getting sick of the multiverse. Like I do kind of just go, ugh, like anytime like I'm watching something and like the multiverse pops up. So it's like when you're watching this trailer and they're fucking fighting and like Deadpool is going like, oh, your universe is were you this sad when your universe died or something, or is that what you said when your universe went to shit? That was the line. And it's like, oh my god, universes, multiverses, fucking kill me. That is just my initial reaction. But to be fair, if something is good, I can get over that, right? Like I was jaded by multiverse stuff. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is still an incredible film. I'm jaded by multiverse stuff. I still loved Invincible Season 2. If it's good, I'll get over it, but I can't help but groan whenever I see a multiverse thing initially. So we'll see. Hopefully we get to Deadpool 2, or Deadpool and Wolverine, I should say, and it's just an incredible film. And I will say just the last thing I'll say on Deadpool and Wolverine, it definitely seems like they're hiding a bunch of stuff. Like, the trailer was weirdly edited, and I feel like a big part of that is because they're just trying to use they're like working with what they have that doesn't spoil all the cameos. At least that's what it feels like, because the editing was also just kind of strange. And I just feel like it's because they're trying as hard as they can to not use spoilery scenes, which I appreciate. I totally appreciate, because it's like, if the rumors are true and Jennifer Garner as Elektra and Ben Affleck as Daredevil are in this, and I don't remember any other specific rumors, but I imagine that we'll see like Patrick Stewart and James Marsden, probably Halle Berry. Like, I'm pretty sure they're all gonna be in this movie, so leave it for the movie. We don't need to see it in the trailers. But let me know what you think about the trailer in the comments down below. I know people are way more excited for this movie than I am. All right, let's jump into our first story of the day. So the creator of X-Men 97 is pretty hardcore teasing at the Spider-Man from the 90s animated series showing up in X-Men 97, because X-Men 97, of course, is a direct continuation of the original 90s X-Men the Animated Series. And X-Men the Animated Series is actually in the same universe as Spider-Man the Animated Series. Like, I believe the way they crossed over was Spider-Man like showed up in like one episode where there was like some kind of worldwide event going on. I can't remember exactly what it was. And it was like impacting all the corners of the globe. And there's like a shot where like you see Spider-Man swinging across the screen. But he didn't play a big part in the episode or anything. But I believe, and I haven't seen Spider-Man the Animated Series since I was a kid, because I recently did a rewatch of X-Men the Animated Series. So that's more fresh in my memory. But apparently there's like an entire episode of Spider-Man the Animated Series where like the X-Men just show up and they actually play a part in the episode. So Spider-Man absolutely could show up in X-Men 97. And in the last episode, which we'll get to later in the show, Captain America showed up. So honestly, this is very possible. And the creator, Bo DeMaio, responded to somebody asking about it. So the person asked, "Tell us if Spider-Man will show up." Crying emoji, praying emoji. "That would make my life complete." And then Bo DeMaio told him, "Just have to wait." So that's not necessarily a confirmation, but it's also like kind of a confirmation. Like, when you're saying just have to wait, I feel like, yeah, that's you saying like, yeah, it'll happen, just wait. So after that tweet, I'm fully expecting Spider-Man to show up at some point. That's kind of what I'm getting from that. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, X-Men 97 is absolutely incredible, and I know there are people that really want to see like the Spider-Man the animated series come back in the style of X-Men the animated, or in the style of X-Men 97. And here's the thing. If they bring back a Spider-Man show that was canceled and it's not Spectacular Spider-Man, there will be riots in the streets. Okay? I'm just saying they would be playing with fire were they to bring back a Spider-Man animated series and it's not Spectacular Spider-Man. So, Marvel, tread lightly. All right, next story. So, remember Vision? Dwight Vision from WandaVision? Apparently he's coming back. Now, WandaVision was a show where that it was really good. I really enjoyed it, but the ending definitely was a little clunky, and there were some things that they didn't really like finish, like storyline wise, and one of them was White Vision. He does, I think, just kind of fly off at the end of the show, and it's like, okay, I guess we'll see you at some point. And then we have not seen him since then. I think WandaVision came out in like 2021 or something. But yeah, then they later announced they were doing a Vision Quest show, and apparently that's about to start production soon. So there's this website called Production Weekly, and it's kind of where they advertise a bunch of different productions, and I think it's mostly so that people that are looking for work can like see what they might want to like audition for or something. And one of the shows, or projects I should say, because there are movies here as well, one of the projects that is apparently up for going to be starting production soon is Vision Quest. Now, we knew that that Marvel was going to start canceling a bunch of their projects. Bob Iger had recently come out and said that. And one of the ones that I thought was prime candidate for cancellation was Vision Quest, because while I really love Paul Bettany and I really love Vision, when you're talking about the projects that people are most excited about, a Vision Quest show just isn't really one of them. But listen, if you have a great script, you have a good idea for a story, then that's really all that matters. Like, at the end of the day, we just need projects from Marvel that are well executed if we're going to save the MCU. Like, is Vision Quest something that's going to get people excited inherently? Not necessarily, but I would argue WandaVision was the same. Those weren't like prime time characters before that show, but they made an amazing show, and it became a huge hit for them. So, if you have a good script for Vision Quest, make the show. If you don't have a good script, then don't just make it to make it. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I will say one fear that I have for the show is that I don't like what Marvel did with Loki. Now listen, I like the second season of Loki for sure. Wasn't a huge fan of the first season. But one thing that really annoyed me was that the death of Loki is one of the few, like, or not, I'm not gonna say it was one of the few, but I'll say it was an impactful death for the MCU. Because a lot of times you get characters that die and then they just kind of come back. And that, like, the death of Loki in Infinity War was a very impactful death. It set the stage for that film. It raised the stakes. And Thanos even had that line where he was like, no resurrections this time, kind of telling the audience, like, hey, no, he's dead for real. And then what do? They, in Avengers Endgame, they just like, they have Loki, he slips in through a portal, or it was the Loki from the first Avengers movie, he slips in through a portal, and then in the first season of Loki, they just have him speed run the character arc that he did throughout the MCU, and oh look, Loki's basically back now. He's not really dead, because, yeah, Loki's back. He's the same Loki that he was by the time, like, the same noble Loki that's willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good that we saw in Avengers Infinity War. And it's like, it just felt like a cheap way to like not technically not bring Loki back to life, but they more or less brought Loki back to life. And I'd be scared to see them do that with Vision now, to where again, Vision's death in Avengers Infinity War, very impactful. You know, he died twice. Wanda had to kill him for the greater good. Then Thanos brought him back to life and killed him again. And so now WandaVision, they kind of brought him back, but not really. So I'm okay with that. It was actually more like sad than anything, right, for Wanda's character. And then, okay, I guess now we have this white Vision that's technically not the same Vision. But now I'm just scared that this white Vision throughout Vision Quest is just going to speed run that character arc of Vision becoming more human. And then by the end of the series, it's just like, it's basically just going to be Vision. Vision's back, guys, more or less. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one that has that problem with how they handled Loki. But I am scared that they're going to do that with Vision in this show. But hopefully not. And I mean, more than anything, hopefully the show is just good. So we shall see, won't we? All right. Tom Holland spoke about Spider-Man 4. Spider-Man 4 is an interesting film, Everybody's just wondering what direction they're going to go with it, right? Like, are they going to, like, shoehorn multiversal stuff into it because of how successful Spider-Man No Way Home was? Are they maybe going to go in a different direction based on, rumors that we've heard where we see, like, Daredevil and Kingpin in it, and it's more of a grounded story? I mean, I already mentioned before, so you know what I want. Or I talked about it before, so you know what I want? Don't want any multiverse stuff, quite frankly. I'd much rather prefer a more grounded story. I would actually really love to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man interact with Charlie Cox's Daredevil. But Tom Holland he talked about the movie, so let's read what he said. The simple answer is that I'll always want to do Spider-Man films, Tom told Deadline. I owe my life and career to Spider-Man, so the simple answer is yes. I'll always want to do more. We have the best in the business working toward whatever the story might be, but until we've cracked it, we have a legacy to protect, he said. The third movie was so special in so many ways that we need to make sure we do the right thing, he added. This is the first time in this process that I've been part of the creative so early. It's just a process where I'm watching and learning. It's just a really fun stage for me. Like I said, everyone wants it to happen, but we want to make sure we're not overdoing the same things. So these are pretty vague comments, but I mean, I think there are some interesting things to talk about here. First of all, he's now reiterating that he's saying that he'll always want to do Spider-Man. This is a very different story from what he talked about like a year ago, where he was like, I don't know if I want to play Spider-Man anymore. I've been playing it for a pretty large portion of my life. Maybe I want to go out and do other things. You know what I mean? And it's pretty clear to me that at that time he was probably under negotiations, and making those comments publicly is just a good way of, negotiating and making, probably like arguing for like a bigger payday or whatever. It seems like now they've probably finished all their negotiations, and it's like, yeah, he's gonna come back. So now that he's definitely doing the movies, he's probably like, oh, I love Spider-Man. He's so special to me. I'll always want to play him for the rest of my life, forever and ever and ever. So that's kind of what that all feels like to me. So it kind of makes me think that he's probably officially signed on for Spider-Man 4. He's probably signed on as well for like other movies as well, whether it be the Avengers movies, and maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll show up in Vision Quest or something. And yeah, and I'll say this as well. That line where he says we don't want to overdo things, that makes me think that at least Tom Holland does not want to do more multiverse stuff. He doesn't want to overdo it. So I think that's all good. And I'll say this. Tom Holland probably does have more saying power than you might think, because Tom Holland I guess he might already be signed on. I'm not entirely sure how these contracts work, but Tom Holland very well could say like, hey, listen, I'm not coming back for this movie unless it's a script that I believe in, and at that point Sony might be forced to not do a multiverse movie, because it's not going to have the same impact if Tom Holland isn't there. So I actually do think that Tom Holland probably has some saying power here, and if Tom Holland doesn't want to do a multiverse movie, they're probably not going to do a multiverse movie. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm overstating it. Maybe Tom Holland is more thirsty than I'm giving him credit for, and he would just come back no matter what. But I think that's an interesting factor here, because the rumors are that Marvel Studios, they don't want to do a multiverse movie. They don't want to bring back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. But I think the rumors are that Sony, because their whole thought process is, well, the last movie made money, so I gotta do it again. Which is obviously not the right move. Although I will say, from like a creative perspective and like an artistic integrity perspective, I don't think it's the right move. But if you're thinking about it from a business perspective, like, let's be real about something here. Actually, let me look up how much the No Way Home made. No Way Home made $1.9 billion. Let's just be real about something here. If you make Spider-Man a Spider-Man 4 without Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in it, that movie's not coming close to $1.9 billion. I'm just being honest. I'm just being for real, no cap, on a stack. It's not coming close to $1.9 billion. But it doesn't have to. And actually, let me quickly look up the budget for No Way Home. The budget for No Way Home was $200 million. I'll say this as well. You don't necessarily need to spend that much money on these movies. Like, I feel like you gotta find a way to like scale back. So I don't know. I'm throwing a lot of stuff out there, but I personally, I really don't want it to be I don't want it to be a multiverse movie. I want it to be a more grounded story. I want them to explore what they set up at the end, right? Where Peter Parker is on his own. He doesn't have the help of Tony Stark. He doesn't have the help of Doctor Strange. Nobody knows who he is. I want to tell a grounded story about Peter Parker discovering himself, discovering how he can handle being Spider-Man on his own and all that. I really want to see that story explored. So we'll see. And also, God, listen, I like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I like his movies as well for the most part. I kind of hate Far From Home, but I like Homecoming a lot, and I enjoy No Way Home. But the farther I get away from them, the more I'm annoyed by the mid aspects of them. Where, like, man, at no point watching those movies did I ever feel like John Watts was even trying to make a set piece as epic as the Doc Ock train fight scene. At no point did I even feel like John Watts was trying to make a fight scene as impactful as Spider-Man versus Green Goblin in the first one. At no point did I feel like he was trying to do a set piece as grand as the one in Spider-Man 3 where, the building is crumbling and Spider-Man is like having to catch Gwen Stacy. It's like, John Watts, he really is just kind of a sauceless director. And I think, honestly, the thing that I want the most from Spider-Man 4 is, yes, a great story. That's the most thing. But I also just really want a director to come in that can really give us some great Spider-Man action and great cinematography. Make movies that don't look as flat as they have from Marvel Studios for like the past few years. Like, we really need another James Gunn that can come in there and make a Guardians 3 and be like a shining light in the beacon of mid. You know what I mean? Or a shining light in the mid that is the MCU. I don't know. I know people get annoyed when people crap all over the MCU Spider-Man movies, but I gotta be honest. I don't hate them necessarily, but the farther I get away from them, the less like the less love I have for them. I feel like, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm like talking about how I don't have nostalgia for, the Fox X-Men stuff, so I don't have that much excitement for Deadpool and Wolverine. When I was in the theater watching No Way Home, I was losing my mind right along with everybody else. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how awkward Tobey Maguire just like coming through the portal and standing there, not saying anything because they know that audiences are going to be applauding. Doesn't matter how awkward it is. In the moment, I was applauding right there with them. So it is what it is. I just want better whenever they get around to making the next one. All right, so that's it for the news stories. Let's get into what I've been watching. So I watched Ghostbusters Afterlife, as well as Frozen Empire. And honestly, these movies aren't great. I just want to talk about one of the most baffling things I've ever seen in my entire life. Spoiler alert, I guess, for Ghostbusters Afterlife. I had no idea how egregious the Harold Ramis stuff in this movie was. It was worse than The Flash when they molested the image of Christopher Reeves. At the end of this movie, Harold Ramis comes back as a Force ghost, and he's just there for so long, not saying anything, because I guess at that at that time, and probably even to this day, like the technology around recreating voices maybe isn't as strong. He didn't say anything, but for like 10 minutes it feels like there are like moments where like they're just like constantly cutting back to Harold Ramis as a CGI recreated ghost, and I could not believe what I was watching with my eyeballs. It felt so gross. I don't know. Okay, I guess if I want to talk about, I just want to talk about that. Obviously, I had no idea what that they cooked. Please never let them cook again. Holy shit. Yeah, these movies are weird. The Ghostbusters Afterlife is the other weird aspect about Ghostbusters Afterlife is that there are moments there are aspects of the movie that I don't hate at all. Like, they were trying to go for like the Stranger Things vibe where the little kids are going on an adventure. That's fine. What I found especially weird is how they treated Ghostbusters like it's Star Wars. Like it's this IP that needs to be revered. And it's like when you watch the original Ghostbusters film, that's not what this is. Like the first Ghostbusters film was like a kind of a satire of like commercialism and whatnot, and it's not a movie that takes itself seriously, really. And the way that like this movie is like The Force Awakens, where it's like, look at the ghost catcher device. Look at how epic and magical this moment is when the little girl sees the device. Look how epic the Ecto-1 is. And it's just like, what are we doing here? This isn't what this franchise is. Like, why are you doing this? It's so weird because it's like, I understand wanting to go in a different direction after the disaster that 2016 was and being like, you know what? We're not even going to try to do the first Ghostbusters. It's fine. We're just going to do our own thing. I respect that. But every time they try to like cram in this like weird nostalgia porn for the first or for the original Ghostbusters films with the iconography and all of that and treat it like more than it really is, more than it was ever trying to be, just bizarre film all around. I'll say I respect Frozen Empire more than the first one because I never really felt like Frozen Empire was trying to do that. I felt like it was like, yeah, this is a Stranger Things fun kids adventure film. And I feel like that's all it was ever really trying to be. I think where both Ghostbusters really, where these films really fall flat as well, is the fact that Bill Murray doesn't need to be in these. There's like really nothing for Bill Murray to be doing in these movies. And he's just there because, of course, he has to be. Like, it felt like the second movie especially, it's like they had plot reasons why the other two were in the film. And Bill Murray, they just had no idea what to do with him. Bill Murray didn't care about the film. So I don't understand. Like, honestly, like, I don't even think he would have been offended if they were just like, yeah, sorry, Bill, we just don't have an idea for what to do with you. But I don't know. Should you go out and watch these? No, not really. I don't think they're worth watching. Maybe look up a clip of Harold Ramis in the first or in Afterlife to see just how beyond egregious it is. But yeah, that's my late review to Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Let's talk about something good, actually. So I watched X-Men 97 episode 7, and good lord, is this show good. Yeah, so this one, we finally see, oh, by the way, I guess I'm going to spoil this. This is going to be the last story of the day, so if you want to leave, goodbye. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, do all the stuff that I always forget to mention. Yeah, so this episode is following the events of episode 5, of course. In episode 6, they kind of like went off into space to look at Charles Xavier, and then they looked at like what was going on with Storm before the what happened in Genosha. But now we're picking up that story, and I think for sure like the most compelling stuff in this episode was with Rogue, the grief that she's dealing after losing both Remy and Magneto. And oh my god, that the speech with Nightcrawler when he told her that, you know, her grief was understandable, her confusion was understandable, I should say, and how she didn't kill them, but she helped them live, and the crying from Rogue, like that voice actor is doing an incredible job in this show. Like, goddamn, really hitting me in the feels. And yeah, also, yeah, like the action at the beginning of the episode when she's taking out the tanks and she's breaking into the military compound, freaking awesome. I should say as well. There's also the Captain America cameo. I know there was some like discourse online. People were mad that Captain America was like not helping Rogue, going rogue, and like I guess people are mad because they're like, Captain America wouldn't side with the government. He would be on the side of the mutants. And it's like, I don't think I didn't take that scene as Captain America not being on the side of the mutants. I just took it as him not agreeing with going in open guns like Rogue has been doing. I don't think that that's like a betrayal of Captain America's character. Like it's not like if General Ross ordered Captain America to like kill a bunch of mutants that like Captain America would be like, well, I'm serving my country. Like I don't know. I just saw that as like a legitimate disagreement between Rogue, who was going crazy. So I don't know. I didn't take that scene as them betraying Captain America's character, but what do I know? Of course, not much. That's how much I know. And then they introduced the villain of the series, which I have no idea who this guy is. Bastion. I've heard people saying that apparently he's like a human sentinel. He's like the next evolution of Sentinels or something. So that's kind of interesting. But I'll say this for sure. What they're doing with the Sentinels and making them as overbearing of a threat as they are is pretty terrifying. Like the Sentinel in episode 5 was like egregiously powerful. And then the Gyrick guy, no, it wasn't Gyrick, right? I don't know, the scientist that was going to jump off the building and Rogue killed. That guy, I guess, apparently he was experimented on and turned into a Sentinel, and how powerful that guy was terrifying as well. They're doing a really good job of making the threat against mutant kind feel very real and, you know, very probable. And what I especially love about what they're doing with the show is that one of the things that I noticed about X-Men the Animated Series was that Cable and Bishop were constantly coming back in time because the apocalypse that they're trying to stop, they never really stop it. It's like it always, like, their episodes always end with them being like, well, we've done it, we stopped the apocalypse, and then they go to the future and they're like, oh, gee willikers, we didn't manage to stop it. And it seems like now we're actually seeing it play out, like what they're trying to stop, it's now playing out in our present time. Because I'll be honest, when episode 5 happened, I was kind of expecting it's like, okay, well, obviously in the next episode, Cable's just going to come back and he's going to fix everything. And he doesn't. We're actually seeing it play out. So I wonder how they're going to handle all of this. Like, is Cable going to come back in time and come to episode 5 and stop everything? Or, because that might end up being cheap, potentially. Or I wonder if maybe Cable, because I'm actually trying to remember how it worked. Was it that once Cable or Bishop would come back to a point in time to try and stop the apocalypse? Is it that they then can no longer come back to that point in time and they have to try again in a future episode? Or because like, are they gonna maybe still have managed to keep the stakes of the show by making Gambit's death permanent? You know what I mean? And Cable now has to come in past that point in time in Genosha. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it was an incredible episode. I really liked, what they're doing with Jean and Gambit's relationship. How, it seems like after the disaster, things are stronger between them, I really liked seeing Cyclops, like, actually mourn the death of Madeline, who apparently died. We technically didn't see her die in episode 5, but they haven't found her body, basically. Although, then they revealed that Bastian has Magneto captured, so I wonder if maybe he might also have Madeline Pryor captured, because she's also a very powerful mutant. So I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. So yeah, fantastic show. I mean, listen, that's also if I'm just to go back to Deadpool and Wolverine. If I'm being completely honest, like, the trailer looks cute. It looks like a cute little movie. With how good X-Men 97 is, I really just want to see, like, a fantastic X-Men movie at this point. Like, Deadpool and Wolverine looks cute, but I really want to see what Marvel Studios is going to do with X-Men on film now, because X-Men 97 is, like, some of the best stuff that they've ever done. Like, this is such an incredible show, and yeah, it honestly leaves me flabbergasted how good it is. But let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments down below, because that's it for this episode. We just didn't have much to talk about today, but I managed to stretch it out to like 37 minutes. Yeah, I think I did a good job. So reward me with engagement and to boost the video in the algorithms or something. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.